to Python tutorials. Today I'm going to take you through on how to create a form that is a registration form by use of Python language. I'll have to start by explaining on how to install the Python. After installing Python, you also need a framework that is a text editor that you will be using. There are several text editors that can be used for Python programming, such as PyCharm that I'm using. PyCharm is the one I'm using. There's also others like Django that is used for Python programming for creation of websites. And several other text editors. So I'm going to show you on how to install them before we go through the creation of forms. That is the GUIs. That is the graphical user interface on how to create them using Python. Now you go to your internet. When you go to internet, you go to your browser, write Python. If you go to Python you can get Python. That is Python. You can search Python that is python.org. If you go to the website python.org, you realize my net is not working properly. My net is not working properly. Python.org. Let me see. Wait, it will connect. Yes, it's now connected. Let me see. Yes, python.org. You open, you go to downloads. When you go to downloads, here, if you click on downloads, you can see now download the latest version for Windows. Now remember, they are all there. Good. So if this for Windows, there is for Mac and all that. So for Windows here, you click there. Then for me, I have it. So after you download. After downloading, you'll be able to install. Then after installing, but it's good, you go to community, because for the community one, Python community, you'll have to look for the downloads, but you look the one that is community and not the commercial one. If you take for the community, it's free. That is under downloads. You get for the community is free. So you download. Then after downloading, you install. After installing Python, now you go to another site, that's PyCharm. So you also need to get PyCharm. That is PyCharm. If you write PyCharm, you'll be able to see PyCharm, the Python ID. So you need to open chatbrains.com. So it is called chatbrains.com. So if you open chatbrains.com, that is jetbrains.com, you'll be able to get now now it is the moment you opened it prints. So you are supposed to get a site. It was supposed to open for me a site. Okay, this one I went straight to downloads because I had downloaded, but it's just PyCharm. Just get up to there. Yes, you get to the website. So that in the website, if you go to downloads, You're supposed to get where the downloads are. Then you download the PyCharm. The PyCharm framework or text editor. Okay, so after downloading, okay, I not. Let me just get to the so that you get the website PyCharm. If you just search it, that is the best way. You go to this first one. That one is professional. I have gone to the professional one, but still, even if you download here, you'll be given after installing, you'll be given 1 month so that you work with it. So you go to downloads. You're able to download it direct. Now we have the community one. It's good to go for the community. Download PyCharm. You go for the community one, you download. So if you download the community one, because I had not downloaded, I download. Yes, you download. That's for the community. After downloading, you install. So in simple terms, after installing, you see a shortcut here called PyCharm 2021, that's version 2. Then if you double click on it, you'll be able to open now the PyCharm text editor or framework. Then on the PyCharm framework, this one is professional, but ensure you download the community one because that is the one that is free. Professional, you have to pay it. You have to pay for it. Then after downloading, then here you can come here on file. On file, then you click on new project. Then under new project, you have like now I have it as a creation of forms. Then I call it I can call it creation of form. That is the title here. It can be creation of forms. That is project. It is supposed to be project here for. That is a project. It is project 4. Then here we call it. We can call it creation form creation. Form creation, that is the title of our project, form creation. Then this one is okay, then you click create on this window. Because the window is empty, let us create on this window. It is creating it. That's creating a virtual environment. That is for coding. So after it is updating the interpreter path, so after it is done, you can see this one comes automatic, so you can delete that one because I'm not using it. So from there, I need now to go to project 4. Remember, that is the one I am dealing with. Project 4 here, you right click, you point on new, you click on point on new. Then we need to have the Python file. You click on Python file, you give it a name. I can give it a name like what? Like forms. I can just call it forms. Forms, of course, it must be having a .py, but even if you don't write .py, it will automatically come. .py, it will automatically come even if you don't. Then you press enter. So if you press enter, you'll be seeing it now here. So remember, like N language, if in your own language or in English, in the morning, when you wake up, you say good morning. So that is the start of the day. And then at the end of the day, you say good night. So it's the same for any language. So in this language, we must start. And in this case, because we are creating GUIs, that is graphical user interface. That is window. So we need to start by importing a module. So the module is from the module is called TK Inter. The module is called TK Inter. So if you double click here, it appears there. So from there, we import from TK Inter. What are we importing? We import everything. Everything, a star in a star in this language, that is Python, it means everything. So we import everything, then it will be stored where? Root equals to, so it is root equals to tk, and the t must be in capital in this case, tk, root equals to tk, so we open and close that bracket, and then you are now good to go. Then remember, it's good to remember, we must first of all, for it to run, because if you don't do that, you'll forget. For it to run, we need to have root, that is, we cross that, the days like saying good night. So we need to cross it, the project. Our project, we need to cross it before we start coding. Because if you continue coding, you will be struggling, it's not running, you wonder why it is not running. But the reason is because you have not crossed. So it is root dot, that is dot main, we say root dot main, that is root dot main loop. So we are doing the main root dot main loop. So it is root dot main loop, then we just cross these brackets. Then now if we do anything, it will run. So let us try to do like a code to have, we can have a code for the header. That is, but we need, for us to have now the header, we need to have that screen, that window. For us to have the screen or window, we have to invoke a module. We have to invoke a method, not a module. We have to invoke a method. And the method, remember in Python, we have several methods, but in this case, I'll use geometry. Geometry in Python is a method that it will display the project window. It will display the project windows, the size that you declare, and also the position, and even other attributes like the crossing of that window, it will display it. So that is the method called geometry. So I'll have to use, remember we shall be using root, the term root several, that is our folder where we need it to be, the file stored. So root dot geometry, then we need to open that bracket dot geometry. So we give the size we need, it must be in quotes. So the size we need, like I can have length 600 times the width. Remember, do not use the times the star. If you use the star, it will not work. Just use x, that's times the width, which is 300. For instance, you can use 600, 400, or if it's a square you want, if you want your screen to look like a square, you can have 600 times 600, 400 times 400, whichever, that is inches that you need to have. So you decide on what you want to use. So that one, after that, now we have the screen. If I run, you can see, just without the title, if I run this one, if I run, remember, it has not displayed because I do not have the grid. That is I do not have the grid. It has run the what? The measure. The main, it's supposed to run. Okay, run, so that you decide on what you want to run. So if we go to run, we want to run these forms. Good. Already it is an invalid syntax. There is. It was supposed to from tk inter, I was supposed to say import, so I did not say that. I was supposed to say import because I said we import. So I was supposed to write we import what? Everything. I did not write the term import, but I said about it. So from there, if now I run, there's no need of going there again. Now because it is displaying here forms, there's no need of going here to select. Now I can be using this shortcut. So that now you see the window has been displayed. This is a window. Remember, this is a window that you can move to wherever you want. You can move to wherever you want. Then you can maximize. You can restore. You can minimize so that it goes here down. And then you can cancel, cross. So that's very good. Excellent. Now we move ahead and now have the title in that window. We need to have the title in that window. So the title in that window, let me have a title there. I call it what? I need to have the title, so I can, it's a label because I want it to be labeled. So a label, it must start with capital L, label. it must start with capital L. If you don't, it will be a syntax error. So we need to have capital L, that is label. So what are we labeling? So we want to label, remember it must start with root. All things we have been doing with roots. Root, if you go with this method, there are other methods of doing this programming, but for this one you must do it this way. That is root. And then we also have a text. We need a text that will appear. So text will be equal to what? Text equals to. So which text will be equal to? The text will be equal to, in quotes, student details registration. That is, I can call it student details registration. Student details registration. That will be our registration form. That will be our title, registration form. And then remember, it must have a comma so that you give other attributes you want in that form. So like I want some other attributes like the word student details registration form. I want it to be in bold. So I need to give the font a type and a style. So I talk about the fonts. I need to give the font equals to what? So the font will be equal to, I need which font in quotes. I need which font in quotes. So I need like Arial font. So I need Arial font. There is no comma in this case, but just a space. Which size? 15. Just a space. Others you can still do Arial in quotes separate and all that, but I need all of them under one umbrella. That is under one quote. So 15, and then you also need it to be bold. So if I need it to be bold, I write the term bold. So I have done that. Then from there I finish with okay. Then I am done there. So I need to have a grid. A grid, that is the, you remember we shall be having rows and columns, which under which row you want it and under which column you want it. So dot grid. So we are doing what we call packing. This is what we call packing. I am doing what we call creating now the header. So I'm doing the packing by grid. So grid, I want to show where is it to be packed, where should it be placed. So dot grid. Then you give dot grid, then you give that opening bracket. So you give the row, it should be in rows, row what? Row 0. So if I give row 0, here there must be a comma. Without the comma, you'll have a syntax error. So comma, then you talk about which column. That is column equals to what? Give the column. I want it to be in column 3 or 2. Let me talk about 2. Then, if now I am done there up to that point. Now, up to that point, if I run, it appears. Now you see, excellent. We have student registration form. That's very good. That's our title. So we need to have like the names here. The fields. Fields like what? Name, admission number, I can also have like the class where it is. Like, remember, class is a reserved word. The way you write it, it matters. So you change the way you want to write it. And then gender, such like. So if I want to use such, let me cancel. Then I go to another line. I talk about, let me have like, I need now to have to create the fields. The fields like I need name. Name equals to. So a label, I need to label it. How will the label be? Label in bracket. Remember, I open the bracket. Then I talk about root, comma. So root, then we talk about text, the text that I want it to be labeled. Text equals to. So we talk about student name in quotes, in capital letter, student name. Good. So I can copy this one so that I can have all my what? I can copy and have all. I can also have another one. I can also have another one. Yes, I can also have another one. I can have here, I can call it sorry. It is supposed to be what? Oh, admission. Let me call it admin number. So if I call it ADM number, that means admission number. Admission number label, I'll call it upper student. Can call it admission number in capital. Admission, ADM number. I can call it admission number or student. You can just have student admission number in capital. Student at the admission number. You can have it in letter. It's okay. Then this one I want it to be the class. Class being a served word, just write a small letter, because if you write capital letter, it will bring a small letter. Class, I can just call it class like that. I can call it like that. Class like that. Class with CLAS without, because if you write the other one, it will appear this. So class equals to label. I can also call this one, even if now I call this one class in capital letter, it has no problem because it is the text that will be, so it will not have any problem. So I can also have here gender. Sorry. I can also have there gender. The label, I want it to be labeled. Remember this just labeling. I want it to be appear as gender. So if I run this, you will see it will not appear. The reason, because I've not packed this. So after there is packing. Like here, this was for packing purposes. That is to make it appear. Because if I run, it has not appeared. But if I pack it, so I repeat with everything with grid. So I give them the rows and the columns where I want them to appear, where I want them to appear. So that is what we call packing. So packing of the fields, it's making them appear in the rows and columns where you want them to be. So that is the next step, is to pack or whatever that we have done. So to pack, we need the first name.grid. So we start with, can start with the name. It was small letter, name.grid. Name.grid equal, that is not name.grid. I give the grid, that is name.grid. I need to give the row. Remember, if that was the title is in row 0, so this starts with row 1 equals to row 1, comma, column what? Column equals to, that is column, which column? Column, I can have it in column 3 or column 2, it's no problem. I can have all of them in column 2, or let me talk about column 2, like this one. Even if I write column 3, still is okay. So I'll have them in column 2. Then I also need, so let me copy this one. Let me copy that one so that I repeat the same process. If I copy, I Control V, so that I change name.grid. So in this case will be the ADM, this one dot grid, and this one will be class, that is C class dot grid, this one, and this one will be gender dot grid, this gender dot grid, because I've already written them, that's why they are appearing. So I will need to change which row. This row 1, this should be in row 2, should be in row 3, and this should be in row 4, and this should be in row 4, and then all of them in column 2, and that is now excellent. If I run this one, good, you see. But now we need to have the text boxes here where all our data will be placed, So for us to do it, now we need to have the entry. That is entry. So what we do, we go here, we do the entry. That is, we first of all, for us to have the entry, remember name, admission number, class, they are all variables. So being variables, remember when we talk about a variable, it's a name given to a computer memory that will store values. Like when we talk about name, it's a variable that will be storing the names differently. And remember, variable do change. So we have one John, and another one is Peter, another one is Martin. So it is a variable that is a name is a storage that is given that will be storing all the names, John, Peter, and all of them. So when we talk about the admission number, it will be storing 2030, it will be storing 2050, all that. It's not specific one. So it changes, a variable changes. So that is what we call a variable. And therefore, I want now to declare these variables. So declaring the variables like name we give, name is it's a string variable, so name equals 2 because name like John is a string. So like if it was a number, you can talk about integer. So name is a string, so we say equals 2. Remember, integer in this case, we have floats and all that. Float with decimal numbers and all that. So we have double. So you have to understand all those what we call variables. But in this case, name equals 2, so we need to declare name variable as to be equal to string variable. If you write small letter, it will have a syntax error at the end. String, it is string var, that is name. Also even ADM, admission number, is also equals to a capital S, that is a string var. It's appearing there. Remember, admission number can be contain both letters and words and numbers, and therefore it is a string. So we can also be having class like 2 west and all that. So class equals to string var 2 equals to string var, that is string variable, equals to string var. So then we also have from there we also have gender. Gender is also a string var in this case because we are just entering. So gender equals to string var. So if you have all of them there, so I've declared the variables. After declaring the variables, now the next step is to have the entry of these fields. So the entry of these fields like name entry. So name entry, how we shall have it, that's name entry, it must be entry, name entry equals to entry, it should be equal to entry. If you write capital E, remember that is a function that is appearing, that is name entry equals to entry. So entry, so you give that entry. So we said we start with root. Root what? Root is a text var. Remember it's a variable, so we say it is text var. Var, if you write capital V, it is text var, it is text variable, text var variable, that is text variable, it's a text variable which is equal to, that text variable is equal to what? You give an equal sign equals to name value, so it will be having a name value. Good. Then from there we do the same, we repeat this, that is, if I repeat this one so that I just copy, yes, so that here we shall be having admin entry, so at admission number entry, then we shall also having here class entry and gender entry here, gender entry. Good. Then it is text variable, all of them is text variable, name value, so this is admission number value. So here we shall be having admission number value, admission number value. Here we shall be having admission number value, class value, that is class value, and finally gender value, that is gender value. After doing all that, we need to pack this. Packing is necessary to show which row it will appear and column, and therefore we need to have name entry dot grid. So the name entry, this name entry dot grid, so name entry dot grid, name entry dot grid in our grid, that is dot grid. So we give the grid, that is we give the row, so it will be in row what? Remember it was row 1, it is in row 1, that is row equals to 1 comma column equals 2. I can have them in column now 3 because this one are in column 2, and therefore that is the names are appearing in column 1, so the text where the entry will be in column 3. So for all of them will be in column 3. So I copy all of this. If I copy this one, I copy, so I paste, I paste 4 times, so this will be 2, this will be row 3, and this will be row 4. So if you do all of this, if you do this, if I run now, here we are supposed to have name value, it should be name value, name value is equals to that, admission value, we are talking about the values and not just the names. The admission value, we are clearing the variables as class value and not just class, it is value, so that value. So if we have all gender value is all that. So here now if I run, it will run now. If I run now, you see we have all of them, but I've not this is it's appearing here. The others I don't know, you see it is there. Let us see why these others, that is root text variable equals to class value equals to gender value, class value, admission number, number value, name value. So we have class entry equals to n3. That is I think they are correct. And then we also have this one I did not change here because I just copied. I was to have that is admission number entry. I was to have this one as a class entry, so I did not have that class entry. It should be class, that is a class, that is class entry. And finally we should also be having a gender entry, that is gender entry. The name entry is there, gender entry is to be the last one, so we can gender entry. So if I run now, good, now you have all of them. Excellent. You have where you can type. Now let me have the last bit of this tutorial. That is, I want to show that the submit pattern. You can have the submit pattern. How to do the submit pattern? Remember, we are going now to create a pattern for submission, and therefore we shall declare. So we need to define, because we need to get the value from there. So I can say it is pattern. If we start with capital B, it will appear pattern. So if we need a pattern, so that pattern is it has a text. It has the text will be text will be like which text it will be. Text will be equal to not test but text. It will be equal to text will be equal to the text will be equal to submit in quotes, submit, and then comma, we shall have a command. Shall have a command. So the command will be equal to get var. So it will be getting a value. Get var. So get var. It will be equal to get var. So it will be get var. Let me have get var. We cross with this. This is one to cross the other one. That's get var. We cross that other one, so that we also have dot, because we need it that value to be displayed where get var dot grid. So dot grid. So we pack it. That's dot grid. Remember, you might not say all that. Others say after every sentence dot pack. Still is okay. So dot grid, so that we give dot grid, so that we give which row where do we want it to be. It is row 5 that we have not got data. Row 5, which column? In that column 3. Column equals to 3. So in that column 3, so it will be displayed. But this one, if I run, it will not run because it will give me an error because I've not defined get var. So get var is if I run, you see it is talking about positional argument, follow keyword argument. So that is command get var. So what is that get var? So we need to say what get var is. So I need to go and define at the top here, maybe before here, before root geometry or after root geometry, still is okay. That is if I define it here is okay. So that I define, that means definition def, define get var. So get var. So I want to define get var. So I want to say what it is. So get var. So I want to explain it. So it is colon. Enter, so that I say what it is. So it is what? It is, so I want it defined, then it will be printing, print. So it is a print. It will be printing accepted. It will be printing something like in quotes, accepted. If we print accepted, it's okay. So that value will be printing accepted. So if I run, it is also giving me an error, get var equals to, always needs a dash instead of an equal sign. So at the end here, it was supposed to be an equal sign, that's column, equals to column 3, that's row 5, column 3. Now if I run, good. If I click submit, it is appearing on the console. This is what we call a console, accepted. If I submitted, if we had data, we shall, next tutorial, we learn on how to put now, putting data there, putting data and printing the data, and all that. And on how to now display that on a console. When talk about a console, it is generally a console is an output screen. So this is our output screen when you are programming. That is where the output is displayed. So like for this case, we say the output will be printed is accepted. So and this one we can do and be printing all of that we do here to be printed. But next I'm going to do how to do this one and have it in an SQL database, or even another database that we can create. You can create a database within Python, or in simple terms have SQL database and integrate with what you're doing. So I want to say that thank you for taking your time to listen to me. If you haven't subscribed, ensure you subscribe so that you also promote me. I'll be having all these codes. If you need them, I'll be having them at the comment.